Hey there, and welcome to Awareness, the podcast, fostering a more compassionate, empathetic, and accepting society. Your host, yours truly, Rob Daniels, welcoming you back for episode number 6. And thank you so much for being on the other end and liking and subscribing to this podcast. That certainly means a lot. I'm so fortunate to have people on the other end that are engaging in this podcast and liking it thus far. And any comments you have, feel free to chime in via YouTube or any of the social media sites and podcast platforms that you may be watching or listening to this podcast. But again, subscribing, that would certainly mean a lot. Do so wherever you get your podcasts, and hope you enjoy episode number 6. And I think you certainly will. I am welcoming from one entertainer to another, just a little bit of a different industry, so to speak. I'd like to introduce to you today my special guest, international award-winning magician, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Durzo. Welcome to Awareness.
Thanks for having me, Rob. So good to be here today.
Yeah, I'm so great to be with you here on the pod, and thanks so much for taking the time to chat. So, with that being said, right off the top, you are an international award-winning magician. I've seen you in person before, and you are incredible at your craft. So, why don't we kick off this podcast episode the best way we certainly know how? At least you would for sure know how to, and that's to stun us with an incredible magic trick. Why don't you take it from here?
Absolutely. I love it already. Listen, Rob, I'm going to get you out. I want to try to do a little bit of mind reading and mentalism with you here over the screen. What I'm going to get you to do right now is I want you to, if you have a phone with you, take out your phone and I want you to Google something for all of us here. I want you to Google how many articles. So how many articles are there on Wikipedia?
How many articles are there on Wikipedia? Go with that.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And once you're there, you're going to go ahead and it's going to tell you a number of how many articles. It gives you like a live up-to-date number. The number increases every day as more articles are added. But does it say how many articles there are there?
Let me see here. How many articles? How many articles are there on Wikipedia? Okay, I have an approximate number. Well, numbers, yeah.
Okay, what's that number?
Should I give you what it is?
Yeah, tell us.
So on Wikipedia, there are approximately 6,975,860 articles.
Okay, so the number has gone up since the last time I checked. And does it also tell you the approximate number of words in each article?
With an average of approximately... per article, words per article. You want to know that number?
Yeah, tell us.
Okay, so it's 2,461 words per article.
Look, I'm going to get my calculator out here. So 2,461 times, you said about 6.9 million articles, which gives you about 16 billion articles on Wikipedia. Listen, that's so many words that if you were to write a book, it would reach all the way from Toronto to the moon.
Okay.
No, I made that up. I don't know. But listen, Rob, where it says visit Wikipedia, click on visit Wikipedia.
Visit Wikipedia. Yes, I will click on visit Wikipedia.
And then what I want you to do is search any article or any word that you would search on Wikipedia. Whatever you'd like, it doesn't matter what it is. Type it in. Once you've done that, hit go or enter where the magnifying glass is. And then
okay, so just click whatever word I want. Okay.
Yeah, and then hit enter or go, and it's going to bring up the article on Wikipedia.
Okay, one word I've searched and pressed enter. Yeah.
And now I want you to, it brings up the article on Wikipedia, correct?
Right.
Scroll down the article and listen, Rob, I want you to look at one word. Just look at one word, but make it a more difficult word, more than 6 or 7 letters, let's say. Just look at one word. Once you've done that, put your phone down.
Okay, I'm scrolling all the way to the bottom of the article, you said?
Wherever, no, it could be anywhere in the article, the middle, just like look at one word, but make it a longer word.
Okay.
Don't tell me what it is. Just think of it and put your phone down.
Okay, more than 7 letters. Okay,
whatever,
let me... Okay, let me see here. Let's go with. Okay, I'm gonna go with.
Just look. It doesn't matter. Just
It
pick
doesn't
one.
matter. Okay, I'm gonna go with. Okay, I found it. So what do I?
Okay,
I just
good.
put my phone down.
That's right. Listen, I'm
Okay.
going to try to read your mind here over the screen. Now, listen, Rob, we're going to start with the first letter of the word, okay? I want you to think of it. Just think of that letter in your mind right now.
Okay.
I think I got it here. What was the first letter of the word?
First letter of the word
Yeah.
was T.
T?
Yep.
Sorry, I mean the first letter of the initial article that you searched. We'll start
Oh,
with
the first letter of the initial article I searched
that's
was
right.
B, as in Bob.
B? Oh,
B.
okay, B as in Bob. Good, because that's exactly what I got. Also, the letter B here. So now we're on the same page. We're going to start with the word, the article that you searched on Wikipedia. I want you to just think of it. Don't say it. Think of it in your mind, Rob. I'm going to try to get this right here. And now I think that this is something that's searched quite a bit on Wikipedia, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of information about this. But that being said, I've written down one word here. You said
Okay.
6 million words or articles on Wikipedia, 6.9 million. For the first time, Robbie, what is the article that you searched on Wikipedia?
Baseball.
Ooh, baseball?
Yeah.
You see, I also wrote something down. I got the same thing right there. Baseball.
What?
That's what you
No.
were thinking of. Hold
No. How
on.
did you do that?
Listen, I
Okay.
want to take this one step further with you, okay? Because
Okay.
then I got you to look at a word. You just looked at a word. You didn't touch it. You didn't highlight it. You looked at one, correct?
Yeah.
Think of that word in your mind right now. Think of it.
Wait. Say that again. The word that I thought
That you
of.
looked in the article, you looked for a longer word, right?
Right. So what am I supposed to do with that?
Just think of it. That's
Think of
it.
it. Yeah. Okay. My mind is just still blown on this. Okay. All right. I'm thinking of it. Okay.
I think that this is also, I might be totally off with you here. I don't know if this is going to be right, but listen, we said like 9 billion words on Wikipedia. That's so many words. You scrolled through the article on baseball. You looked at a word. You didn't touch it. You didn't highlight it. You just saw one. You put your phone down and that was it, right?
Right.
Say it out loud. What was the word in your mind? What word were you thinking of?
Throughout.
Ooh, throughout?
Yeah.
Ugh. I also wrote something down.
No!
It's yours!
How are you doing that? Mind control. What are you doing?
Oh my
Wow.
goodness. And I think the context was throughout the years, there have been many different World Series games or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
There
Mega
you go.
Magic Mike, how on earth did you, okay, you got it. So for those, if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I encourage you to watch that part of the podcast on YouTube if you can. That was absolutely brilliant. I don't know how you do it. Like literally read my mind. I'm scared. I'm honestly scared because like, well, you know what you're thinking. I don't know. Jeez. Wow. That was incredible. Yeah. How do I even? Okay. What an introduction, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Durzo. So you still go by Mega Magic Mike, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Ever since
Mega
that
Magic.
movie Magic Mike came out, I had to change my name a little bit.
Yeah. Mega Magic Mike. Oh my gosh. I am just I cannot believe what you did right there. But that is if you want to see more tricks like that, you got to go see Mega Magic or book him for your next event. He is fantastic and can totally entertain all kinds of audiences out there. So thanks again for joining me though. I am what a way to kick off the show. Thank you. Are you there? Can you hear me?
I'm here, Rob. Yeah, thanks again for having me. I'm excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, that was a great way to kick it off, and I won't ask you about your secrets and give us awareness on how the heck you did that. That's something that is a magician's top secret. They're never gonna. What's the phrase again? Reveal. They're not gonna. A magician never. What is it?
Reveals secrets.
That's it. Yeah, never. Yeah, reveals his secrets. Hand is quicker than the eye. All that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So you have been doing this for numerous years, and it's been your craft. Like, I mean, you have been at this, I want to say, for what is it now, 25 years ish?
Yeah, I've been interested in magic for many, many years. I've been doing it now professionally for 21 years.
21 years, which is incredible. So you've probably, after following you on social media and your website, you've probably built up quite the clientele. I would imagine, with seeing your travels all over North America. I mean, you're international as well. So I just want to, say congratulations on that, and really something that you should be proud of, because this is not something that everyone can do. And you're an entertainer. You get to see the world, man. I mean, you get to go hiking in Colorado. I've seen that. I've seen you're performing on a train. You get to see the desert in Phoenix. So there are so many positives that come with the career path that you've chosen. And of course, it's fantastic for people of all ages to witness you in person. And, talk to me a little bit about exactly all those years back, if you can remember, like what inspired you exactly to become a magician,
Of course. So I was always interested in magic. I loved magic growing up. I loved watching magic shows. I went to see David Copperfield when I was a kid. And it was really, though, it's not that I grew up and said, hey, I'm going to become a magician. It was something that kind of happened by coincidence. And one day I was at Wonderland and there was a magician selling magic tricks, simple little card tricks. And I remember spending my last dollar. I bought a few tricks from him, and that was literally the day that changed my life. And then this was in high school. Throughout high school, I started doing small shows, and then I went to university, studied communications. I was still doing shows. And then once I graduated, it was like, now what? So I kept with the magic, and here I am today, like 21 years later, still doing it.
It's incredible. It really is. And I mean, it's not something that someone can really just say, hey, you can be a magician. But I guess you, like, did someone have to teach you those tricks? YouTube wasn't around back then. Like, how did you teach yourself those tricks that you got from Wonderland and onwards? Like, how did you learn?
A lot of magicians, including myself, especially growing up when I did, we were self-taught. We had to read books, go to the library, take out books on magic. I used to watch VHS tapes, with instructional videos on how to do magic tricks. That's how I learned. And then the real practice was doing it in front of live audiences. The more and more I started doing shows and being in front of people and actually performing magic in front of people, that's when I started to become better and better as I went along.
So audiences 100% is what helped you out along the way too. You need an audience. I feel like when you're a performer or someone that's doing some sort of something in the arts, you appreciate your audiences that much more, right?
Of course. It's one thing to do a trick in the mirror. It's another thing doing it in real life in front of people, right?
Yeah, and then you get fans and followers, and that's what you need in order to build a career and to help support one another. Like you and I have gone way back. For those that don't know, I actually went to secondary school with Mike Durzo, and we have kept in touch on and off throughout the years. And just to see him living his dream is like just makes me smile. I just want to see Mike Durzo happy doing what he's meant to be doing in this life. And it seems like magic is what that is for sure. And so, I mean, touching back on the Wonderland, like instantly in that moment, do you think that was your aha moment? Like, this is what I have to do with the rest of my life, is be a magician?
No, to be honest with you, it was more at that time just a really cool hobby of mine. Honestly, I didn't think magic was even a career. Like, who grows up thinking, hey, I'm going to become a magician? It's not like your typical career path, right? So this is not something that I thought was even possible. I just thought it was fun to do. But, as I started doing more and more shows, then I started saying, hey, maybe I can really turn my hobby into a passion or my passion into a career. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you, man, that it just from a hobby into a career, and you've done fantastic for yourself. I mean, we know that being a magician, because you're an entertainer, typically your hours of work are not like an everyday 9 to 5 kind of job. So, the hours, the days of your work, they can certainly vary, especially since you run your own business with this. What would you find are, say, some of the challenges for you personally of being a full-time entertainer?
Well, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people just don't see. I mean, it really is a full-time job between the traveling, the going to shows. I mean, the shows are the fun part. That's what I love doing, but there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes, like running a business, your everyday work that you have to do. I mean, it's you got to get your clients, you got to send proposals, you got to practice your craft, you got to organize tours, you have to in terms of getting out there and doing all of your travel. I mean, it does take a toll, and it really is demanding at times, especially when you're hopping from city to city. But if you truly like what you're doing, it's the best thing in the world.
Right. Now, do you have like a personal assistant, or are you doing everything yourself when it comes to booking your shows and getting back to clients and such?
Yeah, so I have assistants on stage, but not behind the scenes. So I kind of coordinate everything on my own. So really, like a typical day for me would be, I'll spend a whole day getting back to emails or sending requests and arranging all of this stuff for the show. And really, it's the point when I get out in front of an audience, that's what makes it all worthwhile. When I'm actually doing the show, I say, the show is free. You're paying me for everything else that I have to do.
Right. And in terms of your travel, like how is that taken care of for yourself? Like if you got to go do a show one night in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then the next night you're in Florida, like how does that, is it similar to like a musician that you have representation that they're taking care of your travel, or you have to expense that yourself as an award-winning magician and has to travel internationally and stuff?
Usually the clients will take care of the travel, or they'll just include it in the fee, and I can book my flights because usually they don't know where I'm going to be or where I'm coming from because it's always a different place. But yeah, so I mean, I take care of that end of things, but it's demanding. Like imagine, most people are kind of in the 9 to 5 and they live sort of a structured normal life, whereas mine, it's all over the place. I'm working evenings, weekends, holidays. So, you kind of miss out on a lot of things too. You miss being with the family, or just, hanging out at Christmas with your family because you're on the road somewhere, or, hopping from airport to airport. And that's a whole other thing on its own, right? There's so many challenges, especially when you're with equipment and everything for the show, that it's just like it is challenging, and it definitely has its challenges, but it's also rewarding at the same time.
Yeah. How do you manage that? Like in the moment when you're in the airport and they're giving you a hard time about all your the luggage, the things you're carrying around, and explaining that you're an entertainer. Do you sometimes do woo-saw? What do you do? Do you meditate to try and figure out how you're going to calm yourself when you run into these issues in the airports?
Yeah, so you never know. Every airport is different, and you just got to kind of go with it and, explain. I remember we did a tour in China, and we had to ship our equipment like a week in advance. And by the time I got there, the equipment, of course, never arrived, and we had shows lined up at the time. And it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to go in front of 1,000 people, do a show without any equipment? And then we had to explain to the Chinese immigration officials, why are you carrying swords with you? Well, it's part of an illusion. I'm a magician. So all of these, like, it's wild. Some of the stories, from
I know. I mean, listen, yeah, it's a lot. So like, they don't. So in that moment, did they take you like to the side somewhere and have to like, I don't know, what is it? Interrogation. They got to say, hey, like, what are you doing with the sword situation? What happened with that?
Yeah, so everything, obviously, once they realize it's part of a theatrical illusion, it's fine, but it's the explaining of everything, especially when there's language barriers. It makes it even more difficult.
But you have to show them proof, obviously, right? That you're
show them, yeah, exactly. Which was fine because I also had people who were there on the other side who booked me for the shows that explained everything, which definitely helped. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, look, and you've become not just an expert magician, but now you're an expert traveler. I mean, anybody that wants to go on holiday with you, you would know exactly what to do with all the rules and regulations, right?
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you're an entertainer at heart here, and you do quite a few shows. How many are we talking? Like, let's say, do you have booked in a week as a magician? How many would you say weekly, roughly, that you do?
Honestly, it depends on the week and how we've structured the shows for the month. But on average, every year we're doing about 250 shows a year, and that's all across Canada, the US. We do some stuff internationally. I've done shows, like I mentioned, in China and Qatar, the Middle East, and all over the place. And it's interesting because magic truly is like that universal language, you know, like you can appreciate magic even if you don't speak the same language, because it's visual. A lot of it's visual, and people understand when something disappears or you can make something float. It's that's what I love about magic. It really does appeal to everyone.
Right. Do you personally have a favorite trick that you perform at your shows that is like, yeah, you love to do this one more than any of them that you perform?
Sure. So I love, honestly, a lot of what I do. I love the big, like a lot of my work is on stage. I love the stage illusions and the visual stuff, but I think there's also something really cool about doing close-up magic. I think magicians like David Blaine have really popularized the art of like street magic and close-up magic, and even like what we just did now at the beginning of your show here. You know,
Yeah.
that mentalism and mind reading. I think it's really powerful, and you can connect with people even more so when you do that kind of magic. So I can't say I have a favorite trick or anything, but I love doing the close-up stuff.
The close-up illusion stuff. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Sure.
I want to talk to you about like what the audience at your magic shows don't see. Okay, so I'm not talking about like the hand is quicker than the eye here. I'm talking about how much preparation goes into a magic show behind the scenes, and do you change up the material from show to show at all?
Yeah, so there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people really don't see.
Yeah.
Most of it being the travel. I remember this past New Year's Eve, I was doing a 2-week run of shows in Niagara Falls, and we had New Year's Eve off. But that was the night that I got called from another event in Seattle, which is like across the country, and I had to make it work. So I had to fly into right after my show in Niagara on the 30th. Drove to the airport, took the first flight out to Vancouver, then took a flight from Vancouver to Seattle, drove an hour to the event, made it there just in the nick of time, did that show, had to go back to the airport just to make it to Niagara for the next night. So it's like this craziness, you know, I was literally sleepless in Seattle for 48 hours getting this show done. But it's like, this is all the stuff that people don't see.
Really, yeah, I mean, and it can be tough on the mind because you have to be the one that is upbeat and entertaining, and people don't necessarily know what you had just been through, right? Like, you know, they're walking around Clifton Hill and Niagara Falls, going about their day. They're going to a magic show at nighttime. They're like, yeah, we're going to go see this award-winning musician, international award-winning musician, but they don't know what he's just been through for the last 24 hours. And maybe it's, you know, and you have to be like at the top of your game, or at least you try to. But I feel like this is what, you know, this is exactly why I'm doing this podcast, all walks of life. I want to, you know, bring some compassion. Maybe the audience, they love what you do, but they think maybe they start becoming constructive with you with criticism, but they don't realize where his mind has been the last 24 hours. You just give him a little bit of a break, but he's incredible at what he does. But, you know, it's hard to be 150% when you're traveling across the country with 24 hours to do that and to perform in two different venues, right? Like, you're only human, but you are a superstar at the same time. Like, I think you're a superstar, but just saying that you're human, right? And that's what this is what it all about, is to build compassion. And I think that's really brave of you to do that. It's not every day that people travel across the country and have to work like that back and forth so quickly.
Well, and that's the thing. The show must go on, right?
Yeah,
and I remember there's been times where even you're not feeling well. Maybe you're sick. I remember, you know, I think I got food poisoning before a show, and I'm sitting in my hotel room, and a the audience is already coming into the theater, and I'm just there sweating, and just like you've never felt so bad in your life. And imagine knowing that you have to be on stage in like 15 minutes, and you're there with a fever, sweating in your room, and you just got to make it work. And I feel like, it's that mindset, just knowing like, hey, this is going to be okay. You've done this a million times. You'll get through this, Mike. You just, take it one trick at a time, one step at a time. And, you do your best. That's all you can do. Like you said, we're human, and whatever we can do to get through things, humans are resilient. We can make it work.
That's a good mindset, good outlook for sure. I want to know from you, who does Mike Durso look up to in the business that is magic? Who's your, like, if you're a hockey player and you're playing on your driveway at 9-10 years old, you're pretending to be Wayne Gretzky, or at this stage, Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid. Who is Mike Durso looking up to 20-ish years back and saying, I want to be that guy in Magic?
So honestly, I find when I was growing up, I grew up watching David Copperfield. David Blaine was a huge inspiration, Lance Burton, some of the Vegas magicians. But I also found I got a lot of inspiration, even just hanging out with local magicians who are so creative and can think creatively outside of the box. I mean, there's some local guys that have really inspired me. And I also try to get inspiration outside of magic. There's so many great people out there who can change your perspective on life and the way you think of things. So to me, inspiration's all around us. It doesn't have to necessarily be within your field of work. There's literally, it could be a family member that inspires you. My brother, he's autistic and he functions at a 2-year-old level. He's nonverbal, but growing up with him, it made me feel more compassionate towards people, more understanding, being able to, take things a little bit slower. Life is not a rush. You don't have to rush through everything. So to me, that's the real magic, really finding that.
You know what? I'm just going to Google that a quick second, because I think, hold on a second. You said you made a good point. Just a second.
Sure.
Okay. We are recording this podcast, by the way, on Wednesday, April the 2nd. Today is Wednesday, April the 2nd. Today is World Autism Awareness Day, and we are on Awareness, the podcast.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize it was.
So tell him I'm thinking of him, not just today, every day, and I want to spread more awareness, and maybe that'll be a separate discussion for another day, but that's certainly something. So today's World Autism Awareness Day. So have you had, why don't you explain some of the challenges you've had with that, growing up with a brother that's been autistic and that is autistic, and what are some of those challenges that you have faced being his sibling? And I mean, you want to be compassionate. Is there any specific scenarios that come to mind for challenges?
I mean, it was like, honestly, he was like my best friend growing up, but it's tough when your brother is nonverbal. He's unable to communicate things, right? Like just stuff as simple as, hey, what do you want to eat? And he can't articulate what he wants. That was really challenging. And obviously it puts a strain on the family. He's like, it's like taking care of a big baby, essentially. But to be honest with you, it's the best thing, because, he changed my outlook on life. And just like I said before, being compassionate towards people. Everyone goes through different things. We all have our own struggles, right? But it's how you handle it. It's how you make the most of things that will change your perspective on life.
Exactly. Good for you, man. Switching the subject, away from, I know we were talking about magic a few moments ago, and that's the main thing. You're an international award-winning magician. We'll get back to that in a moment, but just you were on a television show a couple of years back, and I remember this thing was blowing up all over your Instagram, all over national television. I believe it was national. Yeah, national television. And I mean, you were on this show with Rick Campanelli, who is currently on CHFI in Toronto. And this show, The Traders Canada, you won this show. And I was like so happy when I found that. I'm like, this is my high school buddy that won this. And it was incredible. I mean, for those that don't know, why don't you explain what that show was all about?
Yeah, so the Traders Canada was probably my best trick yet to date to winning that show. But it's essentially a show that's a cross between Big Brother, Survivor. It's kind of like a social strategy manipulation game where it's all about deception, manipulation, and it's people have to find the traitors, and you get voted out. It was really interesting being a part of such a production.
Yeah, I mean that must have been a whole bunch of fun, and it takes you a little bit away from magic, but certainly a great thing to add to your resume for sure. From my understanding, there were weeks of intense emotional, mental, and physical challenges on this show. Can you speak to those specific challenges, and what did you win exactly?
Yeah, so the challenge of being on a show like this is you are secluded from the world. You go there, there is no internet, they take away your phone, no television, there's no communication with the outside world. So you are in this game and you're constantly being filmed. There are cameras everywhere in the house, you're living with strangers, and you have to kind of get through day by day, and each day has its own challenge. You're given different challenges each day that you have to do, both physical, mental, emotional, and it starts to become really difficult, I guess, as the game goes on, because every day people are being kicked off the show until you're down to just a few. But somehow, I don't know, I slipped through the cracks and I managed to pull it off.
How much time did you have to give this show? Like, was it you had to book a few weeks off for you to be on this? Was it a couple months?
No, so it was only a couple of weeks, but we were literally filming like close to 18 hours a day. So
wow.
It's really, you are in this game. You don't have time to reset. It's just like every day is the same, and you're just constantly on, knowing that what you say is going to be on national television. And you want to, the way the game puts you, it's like I had to be the bad guy, being a traitor on the show, but
Yeah.
you also want to be compassionate towards people. But it's hard because in such a game like this, you're put into these scenarios where you have to backstab your friends, and it's really tough. But I mean, it's a game at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's public now. I've seen it online, but yeah, you won quite a bit of money being on this show, right? Think so.
I did. Yes.
Yeah, which is good. You can Google it. You don't have to get into specifics if you don't want. But I'm happy for you that you won. And I got to think to myself, after all that time being spent there, like the 18 hours and the being so secluded, was it like a relief to finally get back to magic after that happened, or were you kind of like, no, I needed to do that experience? What was your heart feeling like when you got back to magic? Were you ready for it again?
I mean, I was ready, but I did need some downtime after being on that show in such an intense kind of production. It was it really was. Like, I remember going to the airport and I just kind of sat there, and like all of these emotions just start hitting you, like after what you just went through, it didn't even feel like real life anymore, being in society after playing such a thing. But it was a great experience. I'm so happy I did it. I remember being there at the beginning. I was like, why did I do this? I was asking myself, because it was really tough for me, because I'm not a confrontational person. I don't like conflict. I don't like this stuff. And it was all around me, everywhere. People, talking crap about other people, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is not me. But it was interesting to be a part of it, nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you certainly, I'm sure it paid off for you in the end in more ways than one, I would imagine. And in terms of your, like, when you got back to magic and just magic in general over the years that you've been a part of it, I have to think that one of the most exciting parts of your job is getting to travel the world. I mean, who doesn't want to travel the world, see as many parts as possible. So for you performing in different cities, different countries, for you personally, what has been your favorite city to perform in, and why would you say so?
Oh my gosh, there are so many amazing cities out there. I wouldn't even know where to start. But
Yeah.
to me, China was amazing just because it was so different than North America. People really appreciate magic there. It's very popular. In the U.S., there's a few of my favorite spots. Hawaii, I got to do shows out there, which was phenomenal. One of my favorite places in the world, if not my favorite. I also loved Denver, Colorado, and Aspen and the mountains there. I think it's like a really, really cool place. I remember doing an event in the middle of the summer. It rained the night before, but then I had to drive back to the airport, and I drive 2 hours to find out the highway's closed. I'm like, oh, this is weird. And I couldn't get on anywhere. So I pull over. The person asks, I say, is there any way to get on the highway? And they're like, no, the highway's not going to open today. It rained last night. Like, what do you mean it rained? I didn't realize there's mudslides, right? In the mountains.
Geez.
So now I had to go to this like very rural road called Independence Pass. You got to Google it. This took 10 years off my life doing that drive. I went like 15,000 feet up in my car on this crazy mountain with no guardrails. Like you're literally inches from cliffs. But what an experience. Like I said, the shows must go on. So
wow.
But nonetheless, so beautiful out there. It's absolutely amazing. There's some great spots.
Yeah. So you gave me your top three, and I couldn't argue with those. Those sound like some incredible spots in the globe for sure, and very diverse and unique. So it's great that your travels took you there for sure. Speaking of travels locally a little more, I've seen you perform before in Niagara Falls. You typically are there on the March break and on the Christmas holidays. This is on of course, the Canada side. You've done some shows in Niagara, New York, from my understanding too, and I got to say you were outstanding in those shows. So. The March break is done. We're into April now. What's going on with your magic shows that you got eyeing in the near future that you would say be completely honest? What do you want to plug here? What do you think is you want to go see Mega Magic Mike in the future? Where's the best spot to see you? Any upcoming shows?
Absolutely. So now it's my busy corporate season. So I don't have any public shows in the Toronto or Ontario region. But next stop is going to be Phoenix again. I'm back in Phoenix for some events out there, and then Edmonton later on. But all over the place. You can stay tuned to all of our upcoming dates on our website, Mega Magic.
Yeah, very good. And your website is megamagic.ca. megamagic.ca, and they can get details on where you're performing, and even on your Instagram too sometimes, right? At Mike Durzo.
That's right.
Yeah. Like I sometimes wonder, would you ever consider like hiring like a social media person that gets you on film during your shows, or you would rather keep that for, hey, you got to show up to the show, or we're giving away too many details here? How do you feel about that?
I try to keep that side of things more to the show itself, not so much on social media, but you can definitely follow my travels and adventures on social media.
Yeah, fantastic. So at Mike Durzo on Instagram, and you're Mike Durzo on Facebook, right?
That's right.
All right. International award-winning magician Mike Durzo, thank you so much for bringing things into awareness with us today. It's fantastic to have talked to you, and wish you all the best, of course, with your magic career, and look forward to continuing to follow your travels with it.
Oh, thanks so much for having me on the show. So good seeing you again, Rob.
Yeah, great to see you. That's Mike Durzo. I'm Rob Daniels. This has been episode 6 of Awareness, the podcast fostering a more compassionate, empathetic, and accepting society. Thanks so much for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll see you in the next episode.